listeners. I didn't have my laptop, so we're working with the phone camera. And my goodness, Casey, I don't know. I look old and a little bit rough here with this phone camera.
Every phone camera does that.
I mean, there's something about it. Like, it's just not in any way
I was
flattering.
out with my wife last night, and then she has me take like 20 photos of her, and she said, "I look old in each one." I go, "The lighting's terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to look young? Get out of the shadows and just put as much bright, soft light on your face as possible."
Well, and like normally I've got my laptop camera up, and it's not. I don't know. Also, normally I have my makeup done, and I don't know. But anyway.
Take your hat off.
Happy Saturday. No, you don't even want to see what my hair looks like under that hat. Happy Saturday. It's January 14th, and today we're going to be talking about characters who have to die. We built this episode specifically for a friend of ours who's writing a character named Rankin, and when we told her in group that she had to kill Rankin off, she was horrified. So Abby, I know you're a patron and you're watching. This is for you, friend. We're going to talk all about what the purpose of these characters' deaths are and how you can use those character deaths to drive the plot forward and to change your protagonist in some really important way. So we named the episode Rankin Must Die.
Rankin Must Die.
Kind of to taunt Abby just a little bit, so forgive us, Abby.
Sorry, but you got 3 characters going home. 1 cannot make it.
Yeah. Well, look, so we walked in and we were talking about Gone with the Wind when we walked in. In Gone with the Wind, because it takes a place over such a long period of time, it's like 15 to 18 years in Gone with the Wind, you see actually multiple characters die for Scarlett O'Hara. First, you see her husband. Charles Hamilton.
Right.
And then
her second husband.
And then her mom dies.
Right.
And then her second husband dies. And then she loses her kid, Bonnie. And then ultimately, of course, Melanie Hamilton dies too. Well, her dad too. And her dad dies somewhere after mom, but before Frank. So we see this like repeated pattern in Scarlett's life where the people that she's clinging to that are protecting her are gone, right? So first Charles Hamilton provides her pride, some protection after Melanie.
No, that one was just...
Melanie takes Ashley away, and she's up. Sure, Mr. Hamilton, of course I'll marry you, right?
Well, she does it just sort of...
It's pride. I mean, it's absolute pride. She doesn't want Melanie to get married, and she doesn't get married. So she agrees to marry Charles Hamilton. He's gone, so she now doesn't have the protection of being married, right? But now she's Melanie's sister-in-law, so that's done her some good, right? Gets her closer to Ashley. But anyway, each of those deaths has its own purpose to drive that plot forward. When her father dies, she becomes head of the household. She kind of was anyway because he was crazy, but now she really is head of the household. And it puts the household at risk, which is how the carpetbaggers end up showing up saying they're going to take the house because her father's crazy and, we heard your father's gone lunatic and this kind of thing. So there's a lot of reasons why these deaths that happen in Scarlett's case force her into decisions she doesn't necessarily want to make. But anyway, so we're talking about that, characters dying. The other thing, because we have mentioned this 100 times before, with a young adult novel where we end up with, like, the stakes are always death, can there be such a thing as killing off characters just indiscriminately without...
Well, usually you get in novels like The Executioner, where it's a, big budget, violent attacks.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I showed you a whole chapter I just wrote about people being killed by the shark.
Well, so it's interesting because you've pieced those shark deaths together, and you had said you were going to sprinkle them throughout the book, but then you just decided to string them all together in one chapter where we watch all the different murders by this shark, and it's actually really effective because we get to a place where, like, even as a reader, I want somebody to stop this shark, right? Like the death is out of control. So I think that's kind of interesting too. And none of those are really characters. They're
all characters.
They are because they're in the book.
They're not developed characters.
But they're not, we don't care about any of them, really. It's the accumulation of all those deaths that really has the impact.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Slaughter Shark is going to be an interesting book. Did you finish it, by the way?
No.
Not yet?
It's been going like molasses, I'm down to the last, 2 or 3 chapters.
Okay.
So I finished I've been doing a chapter a week.
All right.
So, I'm getting there. Instead of 1,000 words, all I've been able to manage was 500 words a day.
Just struggling, trying to figure out what it is?
Well, the best way to go forward.
Okay. Yeah.
This is why I'm definitely becoming more of a planner. Because, I reached this point.
In our old age, we're becoming planners.
Right. Well, I don't think a lot of, we reach a point where we don't know where to go, and that's where most people stop. That's why most people stop their things, because they paint themselves to an area and they don't know where to go, and it's just easier to start up something else.
Yeah, well, I know that's true. The news stories, right? They keep coming out of the woodwork to create some kind of distraction, so you don't necessarily finish the one that you've been working on.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll power through. Just a couple more chapters to go.
Just a couple more chapters. I just want to reach a certain word limit too.
All right. We're gonna talk about characters that have to die. Yes, of course, Goose in Top Gun. Yes, of course, Beth March in Little Women.
In Little Women.
We could even talk about Lucy in Dracula. There's quite a few characters out there that their death is going to propel the plot forward. So this one's for you, Abby. Thank you, patrons, for being patrons of the show and supporting us. We really appreciate you. We're going to go on the air here in just a moment. We'll be right back. Or actually,